back. It has been a long time, and I've had to make a list here. So you're gonna see me probably looking down a little bit. I'm trying to be a little bit spontaneous because this is like a lot has happened in the past several months, and I regret being able to film a lot of this as you know we're going along, but it is just, it takes a lot of my available time between, you know, the time I get home in the evenings and I'm able to work on stuff or on the weekends, and then taking vacation days to work on the bus. It's like all my time is just consumed by working on the bus. And I know you guys, you understand you're doing this yourselves. Like, I'm not doing this professionally and by no means. So, you know, we're trying to get this thing done. We're trying to move forward with progress on it. But I just can't. It just burns up so much time moving cameras around and all this and that and the other. And I just wished I was able to film more, to show more. But it's just not really possible. I want to get better and do more from like this point moving on. But and I hate to reveal this much, but I've got a list of you know, 2 pages of things that we've have gotten done. And you would think after 2 pages the bus would have been like pretty much done, but it's still a long ways to go. There's just so much into it. I don't know if you can tell, I've got some kind of sinus infection. I've been working with that all weekend, and I told my wife, I said, I've just got to get out here. I'm going to get everybody caught up on everything in current, you know, do these major reveals. I mean, we've had a lot of things happen really since last fall, and here we are almost a year that I haven't really done a whole lot of updates. So kind of starting out here in the bus, because I've got some stuff I'm going to go over with you. Like I said, I've got a list here. I've got things on the inside, things on the outside, and I'm going to try to hit on each one of them and talk about each one of them a little bit. But basically get you all caught up and show you like the things that we have gotten done. And like I said, it's some pretty big reveal, you know, with the exterior and stuff. So but anyway, let's get going on this, and so here we go. So like I said, I've got a list here, and I checked it twice and found some more stuff, but I don't have no elves to help like Santa. But I'm also, like I said, fighting this sinus infection, so you have to ignore my nasally sound today. And I'm also fighting my battery dying in the camera for some reason. I don't know what's going on with my GoPro. I come in this morning and it was completely dead, so I've been charging it. Got it plugged in right now, so I'm probably got to drag an extension cord around with me to show y'all what the heck's going on, because I don't want it to die. I'd like to get this done today and hopefully get it put out, get it edited and put out this weekend. I'm probably not going to do much heavy editing on it, so this thing is all on the fly. This is gets what you get. I don't know. I may have to edit out some stupid stuff if I say something stupid, but I don't know. Hopefully not. So anyway, let's get going and see how this works. So, you're going to get to bear with me while I fool with my camera here. I've got it on my little handy dandy tripod. Whoo me. So, first things first. This beautiful ceiling. We used the 1/4 inch cedar tongue and groove and ran it throughout, and we ran it down the sides. And I love the look of it. It reminds you of being inside of a barrel, like a whiskey barrel. The next thing, as you can see, is this big pretty skylight that we put in, which I had it in a while, and I actually had done a video on this thing. And you can see it rained a little bit last night. We haven't had no leaks for, oh, I guess they've been in for like a year. Everything functions great. No leaks. So back to the ceiling, we ran a 5.5 inch cedar board down through the middle, and I rabbited it out and put my tongue and groove underneath one edge of it. And I wanted to have something to transition from the, you know, center of the bus down to each edge. I was afraid that if I didn't, and if I tried to just start on one side and work my way over the other, I was going to end up with a mess of crooked boards. So I found the center line of the bus and I went off the center and I took measurements as I went, and try to go off of a point. And you know, you would think with a bus being a manufactured in a factory type thing that everything would be nice and straight. Of course it's not. You know, of course the ceilings are curved, and like again, we couldn't afford to do a roof raise in the time, and I don't even know how to even begin to start into something like that, so I didn't want to get the roof off and mess up, and then the whole bus be just a waste. But we like I said, started off the center, worked way to the edges, and I kept measuring and getting things checked throughout, and making sure I was staying pretty straight, and everything stayed pretty true. I got to one point, you can see I got a little bit of a gap right here that should have been tighter, and I had to make some adjustments. I was like, well, I got to put a piece of trim up here, so that'll cover that anyway. And so it was running true, and then all of a sudden, like, it took off about 3/8 of an inch, almost a 1/2 of an inch. So I had to make an adjustment and fix that just so it would stay straight, you know, running all the way down through the length of the bus. I'll give you kind of a little bit of a ceiling view here. But I thought it turned out pretty nice. I mean, it took us a better part of 2 days to get it up, which I wasn't too disappointed in the time. And pretty quick, can't even talk right. Pretty quick at doing carpentry work, especially if I can get kind of in the swing of things. But it seems like, you know, if you've worked on buses, it just seems like everything fights you. And we were so frustrated on the first day, and it was mainly due to these cedar boards. You know, they're thin, which that's the nature of it. They're thin, but the edges of them was almost like potato chips. It would just, the tongue and the groove would break off. Like, you had to really watch how you were handling it. And then they weren't milled exactly perfect. So you had the tongue and the grooves. You did have a you know, obvious front and a back on some of them, and then some of them, the backs was finished so nice that it almost looked like the front. So you had to look at the profile and get the tongue and groove turned in the right direction, because if you had the groove flipped upside down, it was actually a variance in the thickness of the groove, so then the tongue wouldn't fit into it. So I don't know, I'm probably confusing you, but anyway, we got it up. Looks pretty, and you can see we've got all of our wires wired in for our rough end on our electrical for our puck lights. So we've got puck lights going in these little holes, which we got those off of Amazon, and they actually come with their own little hole saw. It's a really cool kit. It's about $27, and we're going to put a row all the way down the center of the bus, which we'll be able to control from, sorry about the lighting, we'll be able to control from the front of the bus and the back of the bus. So let me get back in here, a little bit better lighting. So I'm going to hook in, you know, we did a 14-3 wire, which is all Anchor, marine grade, you know, stranded 10 copper wire. So I run that from the front to the back, and we're going to have it hooked into a switch at our bedroom so we can cut the main line of lights off from the bedroom or from the front of the bus when we come in the front of the bus. And that's just mainly for security. At nighttime, if you come in, you want to light the thing up, you have basically the whole bus lit up from front to back through those puck lights. Now you are going to have several other lights hooked in, you know, on switches for kind of mood lighting, or if you're setting it to dinette, obviously we're going to have dinette lights and things like that, and some under cabinet lights. So we had to insulate the ceiling, and we reused, now I know this sucks for us, we couldn't do spray foam. It's just so expensive trying to afford, you know, to give somebody come and do spray foam. So we went with the, you know, the old, and it's probably got an R value of about a 3, so it's pretty pathetic. And then you can see in some places the Reflectix is sticking down, but the Reflectix is actually under the whole ceiling, and most of it runs right to the edge of the ceiling here. And so we ran Reflectix all the way around through the whole shell of bus on the roof too, and that's a R value of 3, and it actually is an R value of 3. So we've got, maybe with the wood included, an R value of about 7 in the ceiling, which is not the greatest, but you only got about 1.5 inches in these hat channels to add any insulation. And you know, obviously the spray foam would have been the best, but we just couldn't afford it. And you know, we're hoping that it'll be sufficient for our uses right now. So you can see where I've got all these wires here. This is going to be eventually an electrical closet going in right here. So I've got my big solar cables coming in there, and then we've got a bunch of 12 volt. Now we're running pretty much everything that we can possibly run off of 12 volt. And then I've got my Freightliner water heater that's mounted in, which I've done a short video on that, and I didn't even put the thing on there, so I'm probably gonna have to go on and put that in. And you can see this wire I got kind of stuck out, and I got some tape over my window to keep the rain from coming in, except for that little crack right there that I need to tape it back, but we hadn't had any rain, thank goodness. This is actually going to that there extension cord running over to the house, and that is running our new mini split that I have gotten hooked up in here. Let me keep dragging this cord through here till this thing charges. So I got the Pioneer mini split. It works off remote control, which is pretty cool. Now this thing is, I would like to have had the 12 volt one, but this is actually runs off a 120, 110, 120, whatever you want to call it. It's just a 20 amp circuit, so it'll run basically off of a regular wall outlet. Now I'm gonna hardwire this thing in, I used 12 gauge wire, but I'm gonna run this thing in here and put it in a breaker on its own in the panel box to run it. And then as you can see, I had to build my little bulkhead cabinet for that, so I got it put in, and then I had to mount that mini split in there. And then this gray tube running down the wall here is actually for my drip line, because by the time I came out the bottom of that thing, I had no way to run the drip line out the back of the bus. Ideally, if we could have been able to do a roof raise, we would have had a whole lot more ceiling height. And the reason we put it in the back of the bus for two things is because usually we get hot when we sleep, and we definitely didn't want to be hot when we sleep. Now this thing is 12,000 BTU, so it should heat and cool just fine. But like I said, we like being cool at night, so if we usually keep our bedroom on like 68. So I didn't want to be hot when we were sleeping. That's the worst thing. And all the beds are going to be in here in the back. Now we're eventually going to put a bunk over here for my stepson, and so he'll have a bunk here, which I don't know if it's going to be a bunk or just a single bed right now, but it's probably just going to be a single bed, because we're going to have beds in the couches and a dinette too. So this would be your main sleeping area, and we figure, well, if this is the main sleeping area, it would be nice and cool, for nighttime. So that's why we did it. And also the center of the bus, we're going to have an open aisleway all the way through the center of the bus. And I figure if we have to, we've got some little 12 volt fans. We can set one of them and just blow the cold air up front if it doesn't make it up front. So far, I mean, we've had some really hot days. It's been 95 degrees, and even with the thinner insulation in the ceiling, actually I didn't even have the insulation in the ceiling, and that thing was keeping it cool in here all the way until you got up to the front windshield. And you had the sun just beating in the front window and on the dash, so it would get a little hot right up front. And that's another issue, is the bus doesn't have its own air conditioning. So I'm trying to figure out, is going up the road with the windows open going to keep me cool enough up there? So we're probably going to mount a little fan, one of the old school little fans right at the driver, so I can have something blowing on me. But I wish we could come up with it. And if anybody's got any ideas of how to run an air conditioning while the bus is going up the road, I don't think I could run the mini split unless I get enough battery bank. And right now, the cost of batteries is starting to come down, but it's still pretty expensive. So, I'm not going to be able to initially have a large battery bank. Now, we do want to build on it and get it bigger. But for right now, I mean, I've only got a 200 amp hour AGM, so I don't even have a good one. I got to get some lithium, so it would last longer, and you'll be able to run them things down. The AGMs, you can't run them down by like 50%, so even a 200 amp hour is only giving me 100 amp hour. So even if I go with another AGM, and they're heavy, even if I go with another AGM, it will give me 400 amp hours, but actually it's only 200 amp hours, because you can't run them down below 50% or something. I don't know the science behind that stuff either. So anyway, you have to not mind my mess. I got a lot going on here. So there's my list I got. So I got the RV windows we put in, and You're probably looking at the frame like, oh my God, 2x4s. So a lot of people and certain people suggest using, you know, 3/4 plywood, doubling it up and running horizontally, you know, across the ribs. It's kind of like a style you do, like, you know, how I got the 2x4 running across here. You would run just strips of plywood across there. And, you know, for basically thermal barrier, you know, you're not having direct metal on metal contact. Well, you can see we used this rock wool insulation and we poked it in behind my so-called studs here. Now, I don't have metal to metal contact no more than what you would with those plywood strips. I don't have them screwed into the hat channels. They're screwed horizontally into the hat channels, and then the vertical ones are just screwed into the boards. So there is insulation in behind there. And actually I used, again, we couldn't afford spray foam. We used rock wool. Now rock wool we put in our house, it's actually an R15, and you can kind of see it on here. It tells you, is it visible? R15. Now this stuff is completely waterproof. It's fire resistant up to like 3,500 degrees. I mean, this stuff is pretty daggone good. We put it in our house. It works great for sound. It works great for insulation. And again, like I said, it's been like 95 degrees. And with that mini split in here, with just this stuff so far, I mean, we've still got a lot of open holes in places. You know, we got to patch in a couple things. And, you know, I've used a little bit of spray foam up in this top, which I need to go back in here and add some more in these cracks, because there's places that there was never any insulation. Even when the bus from the factory, there was never any insulation. But you can see I started putting a little bit of spray foam back in here. So I got to continue doing that, filling in that crack. We've got obviously a ton of stuff left to do, but I just wanted to catch everybody up on what was going on. I got to switch hands here or something. This dragging this extension cord around is kind of horrible. I may have to film what I can film with my battery charged and then start over. Just my life. Everything wants to fight me. I don't understand why the battery was dead the other day. I mean, it was on 100% and I hadn't even used it. And I don't know. I guess batteries just don't last. These little batteries and these things. So let me try this. Go on. I'm going to quit fighting it. And I'm going to unplug. Alright. We're all on battery power now. So, let me go back through my list. So we went over the ceiling. We've got the electrical, the frame and insulation, the windows, the Pioneer mini split, the skylight. Oh, and something else, which I'm probably going to show you. The major thing on the outside first and then come back, because it's just killing me. I feel like I don't want to film it just yet. You probably already caught a glimpse of some stuff, but you probably shouldn't have seen yet. But so we've painted the dash, which I'm getting ready to show you, which I redid kind of the factory dash. I didn't want to change too much up front. I like the look of like the big rig kind of feel. So I kind of left a lot of that factory. Now we are going to do some cabinetry underneath the dash and have a cubby and that kind of thing. We also got a brow cabinet above the driver's seat. We've got our security system in, which is going to play as, let me fix the camera here, backup camera, side view cameras, and we actually have a front facing camera. And I got the system from RV in the West or something. It was an off-brand thing on Amazon. It's like 200 bucks. A nice system. I mean, it's got night vision and all. Works pretty good. Oh, also forgot, we got our Max Air fan in. And it's a Max Air Fan Deluxe. It's got the remote to it. It's supposedly, when this thing is up, if it starts to rain, it's supposed to go down. It's got a rain sensor on it. Now, whether or not that actually works, time will tell. But I got to get it hooked up. I kind of got some rough wiring in. I got to get my connectors and all that stuff put on. I got to get all this neatened up. It's got the trim ring that goes with it, and I think I'm going to reuse it or use it. But it's got to be cut down to fit, and I'm going to have to come in here and actually take my trim router and router this piece down. That way this flange will sit in here pretty flush, And then I may have to do some kind of wood trim to trim the little flange piece out because of this arch ceiling. Nothing's flat, so I don't know if that plastic will push up and be flat or not. So that's another little job that I've got to do. You can see my pretty ceiling. So let's see what else we got here. I'm sorry about the camera moving around. Water heater, backup camera. All right, so let's head outside. I'm just gonna take you with me. I'm not gonna pause this thing. I'm not gonna edit this mess. You're just gonna get the rough cut version of this. So you can see behind me, the bus is painted. We did a single stage paint from Summit Racing. We've got the whole bus. I mean, this was just crazy. It took us a month of just prep time to get it painted. And you can see I've got my reflectors, which is all the DOT required stuff. And I added some little marker lights. And I've got clearance lights I've had to put back in, and there's my awning. I got the awning in. I'll have to let it down and show you. It's pretty simple. Now this was something I was really proud of, was this door. So this is the original bus doors, which I've welded together, and I showed a couple, I think, pictures on Instagram possibly of the aluminum cladding I did on it. So I just took 4x8 sheet aluminum and riveted on to the factory door. But of course I welded all the door together, and then I made a tubing frame out of it. So I got square tubing on the edges of it, and then I put some flat bar along the bottom and top just to keep it, because I was limited on space. And I reused the factory windows. Now I was doing some welding out here, and I got some kind of welding slag burnt into my glass, and it messed my glass up. So I had a local glass company, Rockbridge Glass, out here, got me this tinted glass, and it fits perfect. Put it right back in the bus gaskets, and I had done a little short video of removing those, and it's fairly easy. A little bit of a pain sometimes. If they're wet, they can come out real good. But anyway, I wanted a locking latching door. So that thing latches nice, and I put rubber seals around it, and I've got this RV lock from Rec Pro, and it's got the keyless entry. It's got a little key fob, and I hadn't set this password yet, but it works great. Locks in there. You got like your deadbolt lock, and so I need to fix this. It's rubbing here, so I need like a little strike plate. If you open the latch, like what's hitting it is this. So if you open this and then shut it, it doesn't hit it, but it's hard to catch it all the time. So I need to put a little piece of aluminum or something right here and catch this. But you can see I got my seal here, and then I've got to add a piece of seal across the bottom. But I put all this in, and it seems to be working pretty good. I've got a little bit of water. I think it's coming down this seal, and it's dripping and getting into the bus right here. So I'm trying to come up with a solution to keeping water from getting into this bottom pan. Our original plan was to do like a wooden stair tread, and then we were going to do like a tile against the riser part. And but I don't think I'm going to be able to put wood in the bottom, because if this is going to get water in here, I don't want it rotting the wood or swelling that wood. So I've got to come up with a solution to keep this water out of here. It's just very minimal, but it's enough to be like, nah, I don't, you got a water intrusion, so I don't want that. But I'm going to show you something. We did a two-tone on the bus. You can see the blue and the white. Let me go and shut this door. We thought that looked pretty cool. I don't know, I kind of come up with this design on my own, not a professional, but I wanted to have, more than just one big white bus. I need to wash the dirty thing. This thing got pollen on it. This summer's been rough. But I wanted to have more than just one color on it, and I like the blue and the white combination. So we went with like the old kind of classic two-tone blue and white, and then I did like a little arch kind of comes down just to have the blue. And what I did was mimic the factory arch that was already there. I taped that off and repainted all that, and of course we put roof paint on. I used Dicor roof paint, and you can see one of my little side view cameras up here. But I wanted to kind of mimic that. and kind of blended in, made it almost look factory. So it just kind of, you know, swoops down and then comes down and then swoops back down again. Just kind of a neat little thing. There's my completed boxes, and I don't know if I ever did a complete video on that, but I made like these hanger brackets, and I don't know if I can get a good shot of that up in there or not without crawling underneath there. But I got all those mounted up good and sturdy, and I'm really pleased with those. That one actually, the boxes, the buyer's boxes are really expensive and supposed to be good quality boxes, but sometimes I get water that comes in the box, and I don't know if I need to try to tighten up something on these seals to where these latches will pull it tighter. I think it seems to me a little bit loose, so it just doesn't want to seal all the way. But I like the box. The diamond plate's been holding up pretty good, but I'm probably going to go through once I fix some things, because here's part of my issue. I've got a little bit of rust coming in around these rivets, and it's I guess it's just from humidity and moisture kind of seeping up underneath of there, and it's getting into some bare metal. And I thought I primed it all, but you know, you live and learn. So what I did on the other side, I cleaned all this up and got the rust off, and then I sealed that with caulk. I went around here and just sealed around the rivets with a little bit of like a gloss white caulk. You don't even really notice it. Live and learn. It's a bust. I mean, it's not going to be perfect. So something else, we switched out all the lights. So it's got the new fancy headlights. Now these headlights have turn signals made into them. They got daytime running lights made into them, and then you got your high and low beams, obviously. And those are all wired in a specific way. So you wire them in with your headlights, but then you got to have a separate, it's got separate wires obviously for your turn signals and your daytime running lights. Now you don't have to have the daytime running lights, but I wired those in on a switch that if I want to run them, I can cut them on and off from the cab, just like you turn your headlights off and on. Now if you know anything about LEDs and these relays, the LEDs will not flash you know, with the factory relays. So I switched out the relay and used one that's supposed to be rated to make them work with LEDs. Still didn't work. So what I had to do was put these fancy trucker watermelon lights in here. Now these are incandescents, and these are my flashers. And I wired these in with the turn signals, and then now they'll blink. Everything works perfectly. So I put you know, one of these on each side, and then I did one, if I can get back here without tripping over my ladders, and that's something else I have to tell you about. So I put another one back here, and then it works the rear turn signal. So here's another thing, is that we've got all of our lights working. So we've got the ambers for the turn signals, so this will blink and that'll blink, and then we've got the red obviously for your brake lights, and these will all come on. All four will come on. And then the buses have, this bus has places for 2 license plates, so we're probably gonna put like a decorative, some kind of license plate here, and then this will be like our state license plate, required license plate, and then they have lights in them. And then the old backup lights were smaller than these, and I found these kind of retro lights, which I thought looked pretty cool and still kind of went with the bus, and so I put them in. But then we've also got these bright LED backup lights, and they help a lot. And I've been out here at nighttime and I've cut them suckers on, and they work great too. And then here is our mini split rack that I did. If you can see, I've got a little bit of rust where I drilled through that. It's coming through, so I've got to fix that. And then I've got a backup camera right there, as you can see. And then so of course the back of the bus is all painted white. And then let's head around here. I'll tell you my story about falling off a ladder. I didn't really fall off a ladder. I was putting up this awning and was trying to put in the top track up there that held the fabric to the awning. And as you can see, I've got some dirt that I'm filled in back here, and like I have no grass. I've been walking on it so much the grass would just not grow. But my dog had dug holes all in the yard, and I stepped off a ladder and I had fixed some of these holes, but I got this old cheap bag dirt from Lowe's, and it just eroded out. You know, time it rains in it, and it just appeared. So I stepped in a hole, and twisted my ankle, and that thing, I mean, like, I thought I broke it. It made like a loud noise, and it sounded like it cracked, and then it sounded like you basically stretched a rope out, and just, it's like like it just really loud. So that thing put me down. I had to crawl up in the bus and call my wife. I had to get my phone. My phone was up in the bus. I was listening to some 80s music, man. I was jamming out, listening to 80s music. And I had my phone, Bluetooth, hooked up to my Milwaukee radio in there. And I had crawled up in the bus. I had to call her. And so the phone rang like 5 times. I was like, this woman ain't going to answer the phone. I'm going to lay out here with a broke ankle. And so finally she answered the phone. I had to put the thing on speakerphone because I felt like I was going to pass out. I was like getting all hot and stuff. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to pass out. So I was like, babe, I was like, you got to come out here. And she's like, what's wrong? I was like, I think I done broke my ankle. That thing, it was my left ankle. And that sucker swole up. It was like a freaking baseball up on the side of it. And it had messed up some tendons. I don't know what you would call it. But it pulled tendons on both sides of my ankle, on the left side, down through my foot. I could not walk. She came out here, and she's got a Jeep, and she came out here and was like trying to get me hobbled up into her Jeep, and I was like, just hurry up and get me to the hospital. I was like, this thing is throbbing already, and luckily it like almost went instantly numb, so it wasn't hurting too awful bad. And I was more like irritated with myself because, you know, I've been up and down ladders and scaffold my whole life. I've never gotten hurt, but it just shows you that it just takes 1 second to mess you up. And so doctor put me off of work for 2 weeks, and then they told me they really wanted me to be off for like a month. And I'm like, I can't be off a month. I got to get back to work. I was like, I can't be off a month. And so I actually had to go about a month without working on the bus because I couldn't really walk a whole lot, you know, like all day. I couldn't be out here working on the bus all day. It just was killing me. And so anyway, let me get back to the busting off my ankle, broke ankle story. So here's my water heater that I got hooked up out here. If I can open the thing, it didn't open it forever. It's wonder ain't cobwebs up in here. So this thing's like 42,000 BTU propane. It's a typical RV, you know, water heater. I read the reviews on it. You know, everything seemed positive. You know, as far as altitude and stuff like that, I don't know if there's any big deal with any altitude change. We're not planning on being on Mount Everest or anything, so I don't think it's a big issue with us. We're probably going to stay more in the lowlands. But I notched everything out, cut the rub rails back, and then put all this stuff back together. I thought it turned out pretty good. I mean, I'm no expert. I'm trying to keep this thing as factory looking as possible, and you know, it's more for functionality and, you know, trying to lessen maintenance on it. So then up on top you can see we've got our solar panels also, and let me flip my sheet over here. This may be a little bit rough, fellas, but I'm trying to just shoot from the hip kind of here. So the solar panels, I had to split them up, and I should probably come out the roof hatch and show you a little better, but get up on a ladder or something. But I got these silver edged ones are the Renogy's, and they're 200 watt Renogy's. I've got 2 of those, and I've actually had a buddy of mine, Jake. He is freaking awesome. He like almost bailed me out for these solar panels, like completely. He almost refused to take money, and I was like, I've got to make him take some money for him. But he runs a solar company, and he had some displays that were older, and he basically gave them to me. So the Renogy's I paid for, and the other ones I give him like $100 for them, which I thought was freaking great. But I got 2 Renogy's hooked in with a Solar World 265 watt Solar World. Now with the panels, evidently even though the one is a 265 watt, the way I'm gonna have them wired in, it's basically gonna kick it down to a 200 watt. So I'm doing 2 different strings. I'm gonna run the 200 watts with the 265 watt, and then that's gonna basically give me 3 200 watt ones. And then he's giving me 2 310s and a 320, so they're basically gonna be 3 310s. Now they're going to run on a separate string, like I said, into a separate solar charge controller onto the Victron Lynx distributor. And so that's going to give me like basically 3 times 310, so 930 watts of solar on that side. So I'm gonna have 600 watts on one side and 900 on another. So I'm looking at like 1500 watts of solar maxed out if if everything functions properly. So I thought that was pretty good. Something else I've already hooked in is this Freightliner, and it's a just a 30 amp shore power. I've got it roughed in. Nothing's hooked up yet. I still got to build my electrical closet. But this is basically the gist of everything. Like I said, I was really excited. We've also got our roof deck started up here, and I used all aluminum, and this is actually solar tracking and for solar roof mounts. And I kind of fabbed it up, and I was like, man, I don't know if this is gonna work. Fabbed it up on the ground, and I didn't even have it braced up, and I could like do pull-ups on it, and it was barely moving. So once I got it on the roof, I've got it braced up, and it's braced onto the roof in a couple of different places, and it's sturdy, it's strong, it's not gonna go nowhere. And once I put my actual decking up there, it's gonna tie everything in together, and it's gonna be pretty daggone strong. I mean, you could probably put 10 people up on that sucker, and it wouldn't go anywhere. So yeah, here it is, and this is the big reveal I was trying to show everybody. And I'll back up here and show you the bus. Excuse me, I'm trying to get over this sickness, darn sinus infection. So there she is. Oh, something else I forgot to tell you. We use this Raptor liner. It's like a spray-in bed liner stuff, but this was brush on. We used this on the front and rear bumpers, and made that nice and pretty. And I did go on and paint this. This was already like a silverish color of the grill, and it was just nasty looking, faded, and you could see some of the like yellow of the original plastic coming out. So I repainted all that back, and I did my headlight trim rings. They were the kind of same material, so I done those. And then of course we've got our front facing camera here, and then I went on and touched up my little tow hooks there with some of the Raptor liner stuff also. And we've got all of our DOT stuff hooked up. We've got our clearance lights working, all of our turn signals and stuff work. I've got my heated mirrors hooked back up, and like I say, here's the other side, the solar panels over here. And trying to make sure I hadn't forgot to tell you anything. Of course, you got to have reflectors, so I put in reflectors on all the corners and where they're required for buses to be. So I got all them in. I need to do a little bit of cleanup. We've got to get some stuff cleaned up and organized today. I took today off, and I didn't realize I was going to have, ooh, it's really dark. I didn't realize I was going to have the ceiling up so fast, and I was glad to get that done yesterday. So now I can kind of slow down a little bit more and make you guys a video. So let's head back up in real quick. I'll show you. Also, I painted this bottom piece, and there's some kind of a filter that's supposed to go in there, and I'm famous for taking stuff apart and forgetting. I should have took some pictures of it and put it back together, but I've got a piece in the building that it's like a filter screen. I think that's supposed to go in there, so I got to unscrew that back. And then I meant to show you the dash. So I did the painted dash. Of course, I got my flag sitting up here kind of in the way, it's blocking some of this heat. But I repainted the whole dash, which I've got some dust and dirt in here from doing the ceiling. And what I want to do is, I don't know if I'll repaint this or not, but we're reusing this for our cameras, and I've got it wired into the bus system. So it pops up right here. It'll take a second. Pretty cool system. And it actually has trigger wires. You can change the channel to show you your different views. So there's all 4 cameras. But it also has a system, a trigger wire, where when I put this baby in reverse, which ours is a 5-speed, So, you know, when I put this baby in reverse, it'll pop up in here, the reverse camera, which you got to have the key on to activate the reverse sensor. But yeah, it'll go straight to reverse, and it shows you your lines. Let me, how much charge I got left on this thing? My camera is about to die, and I'm about made it all the way through this video. So I'm just trying to finish this video out before my camera dies. Like I said, I really wished I could do more filming. I just don't have a whole lot of time. Today was like one of them days where I said I am going to do it. So here's my little fancy key fob. Oh, high-tech redneck. Alright, so let's see. Oop, well, I don't even see the wipers on. Yeah, cut them off. Alright. So there it goes. Went straight in. You can see that went straight into the backup camera. Now when you take it out of reverse, it's supposed to pop back to all four cameras. Takes us a couple seconds, but it'll pop back to all four and then throw it back in reverse and it'll get you back in there. But anyway, figured that would be really handy, and I hooked it into, it's funny, but they're, you know, security cameras on the bus. Hooked it into a switch there so I can cut that puppy off and on whenever I feel like it. My little keys and my little magnetic hooks over here for now. I also did insulate a little bit for sound with this silver padded stuff. It's, you can see it's a little, I don't know, 3/8 of an inch thick or something. I really got to come up with a solution for this, because I don't think this box here is needed for anything else anymore. I got to figure out what all this is going to. If I can do away with this, I'd like to start like somewhere in this edge here and do a modified cabinet, because we want to be able to put a light switch back in here towards where I got my little off can. The mosquitoes been eating my wife up out here. They must not like me. They don't really bother me much. Maybe I smell funny to them or something. But I want to put some switches down here so when you open the door you can cut some outside lights on and the inside lights on, stuff like that. So, but here it is. It's starting to come together. Like I said, you can't pay attention to my mess. I've been in full production mode, working my butt off. There's our fridge we got from Rec Pro. It's a 12-volt fridge. We're gonna hook it in here. Yeah, I think that's about it for today. But I'm glad y'all decided to bear with me in my cold that I got going on. I'm trying to get up here in the light where you can see me better. But glad y'all bared with me and got to see the whole reveal on everything. And trying to think if there's anything else. Like I said, there's a mosquito right there flying around. I made a list and checked it twice, but I have no elves. So my wife, she's out here. She helped me do the installation. She helped me do some of the sealing, and she got to listen to me cussing and carrying on, fighting that stuff. But all in all, I think it went pretty good. But I'm glad y'all, you know, spent some time with me, and we'll catch y'all the next time.